everyone, Angela here. Life can be challenging. Trust me, I get it. However, I have learned we can either view the opposition or value the opportunity. Ponder on the problem or praise the potential. Focus on the situation or find the solution. Despite the current circumstances you're going through, I invite you to join me today as we embark on a grand adventure to discover the reasons why it's a good time to be you.
Here's the encourager herself, making every day a good day, Angela Henderson.
Welcome everyone. We are so glad you're here today. Thank you for being with us. Turn to your neighbor and say, it's a good time to be you. Yes, and it is. Y'all sounded like you mean it. That's awesome. Way to go. Give yourself a hand. We are so glad that you are with us today. We have a beautiful story of Jan Shirey and Allison Robinson, and they're going to be sharing with us their journey and how God allowed their paths to cross. Jan going through some difficult times in her life, struggling with alcohol, struggling with drugs, but yet knowing that there was more to life than what was being offered to her at that time. And then meeting up with Allison and how together these ladies were able to come together, bring healing into each other's lives through the power of God. And now God is using them to do something amazing in the lives of other women. And so we just encourage you not to go away, but we'll be right back after these messages and we're going to meet our guest. Hey everyone, Angela here. Do you have a remarkable story with an extraordinary outcome? Well, if you do, I'd love to invite you to submit that to us at itsagoodtimetobeyou@gmail.com. We would love to review it for consideration, and who knows, you might just find yourself on our show. So enjoy the rest of your day, and remember, it's a good time to be you. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for being with us again. Now let's give a warm welcome to our guests, Jan Shirey and Allison Robinson. Come on out, ladies. Welcome, welcome. It's a good time to be you. Thank you for being here. So glad to have you today. Thank you. Well, we are so excited, just after kind of hearing your story and our producer sharing a little bit about it. It's amazing, and I know that God is a God of restoration, and He is a God of many chances and opportunities because He's placed such beautiful things inside of us, and He wants us to live those more than we do. So, Jan, why don't we just start with you, and why don't you just share a little bit about your childhood and what that was like and where you grew up?
Well, I grew up here in Charleston. Family of four. I've got a younger brother. I've got many wonderful memories growing up, but as we got a little bit older, things became more tense in the house.
Yeah.
My dad, we were dealing with alcohol abuse and infidelity, and all that brought into the household with all of us. We did grow up going to the Baptist church, so we were always in church. But so it was a lot of traumatic stuff going on as I got a little bit older. About 15 or 16, he ended up leaving and moving out. I mean, he stayed here in town, but still, it was very difficult.
Yes, I could imagine having your home kind of broken like that and split. Yeah. So, Allison, what about you? What was going on in your childhood, and where did you grow up?
I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was in a family of five, and I had an older brother and sister, so I was the baby. And we had a great childhood. My dad did work all the time. He was in business, and he worked. He would get home late at night, and then and my mom stayed home, was able to stay home, and she was there through the day with us. And we were able to roam the neighborhoods, and the thing I loved about growing up in Charlotte is there were a lot of moms home, so they were making sure we were on task and doing what we were supposed to be doing at all times. So we had a lot of mamas around the neighborhood.
So it took the community to raise the children.
Yes,
I love it.
And I grew up in church as well. That was very important for my mom and dad. And so we grew up in church. We were there every Sunday and went to lots of retreats and conferences. And it was just a really good childhood. At 13, I did the catechism, and I had to memorize everything, and I was excited about that. So because I was able to do communion if I did that. But one thing that hit me recently is that I memorized all that, but it didn't go into my heart. It was just memory.
Right, yeah. And that's a lot about what religion teaches us. Follow the rules, follow the regulations, the letter of the law, and you should be okay.
Yeah.
But as you realized, it took a little bit more than just knowing all that stuff and the rules and the regulations, but it actually took relationship. So one of you actually got saved as a youth. Which one?
That was me.
All right, Miss
Yes.
Jan. Okay, so
Yes.
the good old Baptist girl here.
Yes,
Okay.
and I remember it well. My father and I were saved at the same time and baptized together when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
And I so remember experiencing the Holy Spirit at that age. But I don't think I really knew what was happening
Yeah.
because I would sit in church and just cry. And now I know it was just the power of the Holy Spirit over me. And I remember even as a young girl, very young, 10 years old, having this sense of discernment in the sense of I was discerning things, but then I was seeing things and they didn't go together.
Right.
They did not go together. And I didn't really know how to unpack that.
Right.
And I didn't have anybody that could lead me or guide me in that at that point. But I now know what I was experiencing.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. How awesome is that? And at the age of 10, it means the number 10 means law and order. And so God was already establishing his law and trying to shift your life in order. And he established a foundation to prepare you for some things that you were going to walk through.
Yes.
And so when we come back, we're going to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to find out what some of those things were. So please don't go away. We'll be right back. Check out my new book on AngelaDHenderson.com and take a journey to discover the many reasons why it's a good time to be you. Welcome back, everyone. We're so glad to have you today. We have with us Jan Shirey and Allison Robinson, who are two ladies that are doing some really phenomenal things now based on what they actually experienced in their personal lives and having their paths crossed. And so we left just learning a little bit about each other's childhood and growing up. And so, Jan, let's start with you. Here you are now. You're trying to maintain your relationship with God, having an encounter with him at the age of 10 and realizing his reality in your life, but then you still went through some very challenging things within your home growing up in your teenage years. But what were some of the other challenges, that you faced in trying to maintain this relationship with God?
Well, I think, because things so drastically changed in the household at 15 or 16, I did not know how to emotionally handle that.
Okay.
And I started, I was not hanging around a very good group of people at the time. And I can still remember the first time I ever smoked pot.
Wow.
And it was the struggle that I had. Because there was so much peer pressure and push to do it. And I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I did not want to do it. And my spirit was saying no, but my soul just could not withstand it. And so I did. I gave in and I started, and I was in a lot of pain, at that point. And so I started smoking pot, I started drinking, and there began 10 years of that going on. But it numbed the pain.
Yes, it did.
It numbed the pain.
Yes,
And
it did.
so that went on for 10 years, and I stopped all of that at about 25 years old.
Wow.
I lost my father within months of stopping all of that. And I didn't go back to it. But and that's the hand of God.
Yes, it is, because when we are hurting and we open ourselves up to that, it's kind of like a domino effect. But I just find it so interesting that at the age of 10, you had your encounter, your experience with God, and then 10 years into that time of rebellion, so to speak. But again, it's the time of law and order. It's just like God is just trying to get your attention, to realign you, to get you reestablished. And so at the age of 25, you saw yourself, kind of walking away from that lifestyle, which is so wonderful because 25 represents grace multiplied. And so his grace was so amazing, in your life. And his hand was so much still upon you, even during those rebellious years when you were just trying to comfort yourself and, soothe that pain that you were in, and giving into some of the peer pressure, which is so common, so common. So Allison, how about you? What was your story and what was going on in your life that kind of led you into that realization that you needed more than what you had?
Well, when I was 17, a lot of things changed in my life, and my sister got married, moved away. My brother was in college, and my dad got a new job, and it was going to be in Georgetown, South Carolina.
Oh.
So all of a sudden, everything shifted for me.
Yes.
I moved to Georgetown and ended up graduating from high school there. And then I was off to college, and a very interesting thing happened. When I was heading to college, I told the Lord, I said, I'm going to college, and I'm going to party, and I'm going to have fun.
So you already set the plan, huh?
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do.
That's what I'm
Bam,
going
bam,
to
bam.
do. But when I finish college, I'm going to follow you.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how I left it.
Oh, my.
And so I finished college. I got some money together. I worked for a period of time. Then I moved back to Charlotte. And I got my first job, got my first apartment with one of my friends from college, and things were going good. We had an apartment right near the social scene, so that it would be easy to get home. All was good. God was not a thought in my life. And one day, it was Friday, I was getting ready to go out on Friday night, and the presence of God came into my room.
Wow.
And I did not go out that night, and did not go out anymore.
Yeah.
It completely changed my heart. And I, at that point, all I wanted to do was read. I just happened to have a Bible. I don't know how I had a Bible in that apartment, but I had a Bible. I picked it up, and it was totally alive to me.
Amazing.
And I had never been able to read the Bible before, so I was reading it, and it was like food. I was just eating that food.
That is so beautiful. Again, our thoughts aren't God's thoughts. And we can give him our time frame and our plans, but his timing is always perfect in our lives, and he knows exactly the defining moments that he provides for us where we make these really big decisions to follow him. And how awesome his grace is towards us, and amazing that he would knock on those doors. And he says, if I knock, if anyone opens, then I'll step in and I'll sup with them. And so he was knocking on the doors of your lives at the ages of 25. And what age were you about that time?
I was about
give or take?
25.
So about 25. And so here you were during this period of a lot of extended grace. And he knocked on the door and you ladies opened. And so we're going to take a break, and we'll come right back, and we'll discover what happened after both of these ladies opened that door and let Jesus into their lives. So we'll be right back. Hey, as a leader, you are a broker of gifts. So whether you are a professional, a business owner, or a ministerial leader, I would love to accompany you in transforming your ordinary staff into an extraordinary team through leadership development, team building, and personal discovery. You will learn the amazing gifts, skills, and talents that each of you have, and know how to bring them together in order to do great things. So reach out to me at AngelaDHenderson.com, and let's begin your amazing adventure today. And remember, it's a good time to be you. Welcome back, everyone. So thank you for staying with us, and we're just going to continue right on to the rest of this amazing story of Jan and Allison. And so, Jan, when did the shift begin to take place in your life? We know that at age 25 there was that defining moment of making the decision, but what else happened?
Yeah, at 25, I mean, I quit the drugs and alcohol, but I was not okay.
Yeah.
I just took away the substances.
Right.
But it was 37 years old. I had two beautiful little girls,
Aw.
1-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Wow.
And I had gotten to the point where I was just tired of being me.
Yeah.
And I don't even know who me was,
Right.
really.
It was the me you settled for.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was. And so I started, I knew I needed to do something different, but I didn't know what the different was.
Yeah.
So I started going to church.
Huh.
And the Lord kind of took it from there.
Yeah.
And I got pretty quickly in my first small group
Yeah.
after getting to the church, and that's what really started to shift things for me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because you were 37, and the number 37 is very pivotal. 30s represent a time of sorrow and suffering, but 7 also represents the perfection of God. And so His work in you is being perfected during those most troubling times, and it brought you to that place. And then with you at the age of 26, it represents the righteousness of God. And so you started making a shift and moving into that alignment of your relationship with God, and that encounter that just really took you from a Saul to a Paul experience, so to speak, bringing transformation. So when did your paths cross then, the two of you? I mean, we've got you in Charlotte, we got you in Charleston, Georgetown. So how did y'all come together?
Well, I moved to Charleston in around 1990,
Nice.
and got involved in church. And boy, was I involved in church. I did everything. I did singles, leading singles and teens, and you know, just being in the leadership team there, and doing conferences. You know, just everything. I just was always doing.
Yeah.
But deep down, through that, I always felt like something was missing in my heart. You know, like something was missing. Something I felt like I needed more than what I was getting, and that's when the connection with Jan came.
Because we met at church.
So
Yes.
so it was the
That's-
same church.
Yeah, we met
Wow.
at church, and I heard about her groups.
Yeah.
Okay. I was leading women's ministry, and Jan was doing a small group, and I was hearing really good things about it, and people's lives were being changed, and I would listen to them, and I would think, well, I think I need that. And so one day I was just praying and seeking the Lord on it, and the Lord said, go see Jan. Go see Jan. And so I remember walking across the parking lot to, both of our kids went to the same, all of our kids went to the same school. And I saw her in the parking lot, and I walked across to her car, and I said, I think I need to meet with you. And she was like, sure, that'd be great. And so we met, and it was just awesome. And we had a connection there, and she knew where I was at, and I had never had anybody know where I was at, and she knew where I was at and what we needed to do. And the Allison that had it all together said, okay, I'm going to give you 10 weeks, and I'll give you 2 hours a week.
Wow.
And you know what I thought?
What?
She has no idea what she's in for. I went along with it,
Oh
but
my gosh. It's almost like you ladies are at both different ends of the spectrum here, you know, and you had your own ideas, but God knew what He was doing when He brought it together. How
I'm like the
amazing.
older son, and she's like the prodigal.
That's great. Well, you know, it's so beautiful because what I'm seeing here is that, again, and I'd shared on one of our breaks with you ladies that coming from Charlotte being your upbringing and Charleston being your upbringing, that there is really a spiritual connection between the two cities and our two states of North and South Carolina. And Charlotte and Charleston are really sibling type cities, the masculine and the feminine of that same name, and it actually represents free person or free man. And so there's a lot of liberty that comes from that, and Charleston being known as the holy city, being built for the purpose of having that freedom of religion to have relationship and to worship God the way we want. And then the Queen City Charlotte, which was a governing type city, ruling and reigning, and both cities were built on for wealth as well. And so, as a matter of fact, with Charlotte, it's the second largest gold rush in our nation, next to California, and so it was built on wealth. And so, when you bring the relationship with God, we were meant to rule and reign, okay, in our lives and in our communities and in our cities, bringing kingdom into the earth, as well as to have all the provisions that go along with that. There's no lack in the kingdom of God. And so now that God has brought you two together, there has been something beautiful that has come from that, has been birthed from that. So what is taking place now in the ministry that you have?
Well, we officially started a ministry in 2010 called Lost and Found Ministries, and it's about healing the soul and empowering women to really change, okay, through God's Word, and empowering them to change and be who God's called them to be.
Beautiful.
Be who they were called to be.
Beautiful. Well, again, there's that number 10 for you. I'm telling you, God is definitely about alignment and getting things in order. This is great. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come right back, we'll hear a little bit more about this and just kind of hear a little bit more what God's doing in you at this moment. So don't go anywhere. We've got more to share. Thank you for being with us today. And so we just have been talking with Jan and Allison and about their lives and how God has just allowed their paths to cross. And now they have taken the experiences that they walked in. And what I'm getting is that, you know, both of you knew of God, knew about God, thought you were relating to God, or thought, you know, that you had it together in the connection, but yet still there was something missing, you know, in your life. Where this God thing was concerned. And now he's brought you into a place where you actually begin to embrace the idea of relationship. You know, this is what it's about, and this is what I've been missing. And so you have come together and you've opened up a beautiful ministry just based on some of the things that you've walked through and some of the questions that you've even had, that you know where ladies are when they come to you, because you've been there, done that, seen it, tried a thing or two, and this is what's worked, and this is what God's empowered me to give to you. So how is that working now? How is that evolving, and how have you continued to grow as you're reaching out and helping others?
Well, I think for me, and it's as far as God in this, is the trust, just really having to lean in and trust on another level, especially since we started the ministry, and really knowing that he's leading every step of the way. I think that's the big thing for me there. With us, I think, you know, there's a whole host of things. I mean, in learning to work together, we're very different personalities, and pulling all that together and really focusing in on each other's gifts, because we're both gifted differently. We have different weaknesses, and being able to step in when one of us, we know that there's a weakness there, to be able to step in and have each other's back. So really learning to work together.
And I think with us having a healing ministry, and we're helping women's eyes to be open to this brokenness that's inside of them, and the enemy doesn't like it, because it's pulling them out of the darkness. And he doesn't like it, and so there is just a lot of warfare around this ministry, and so we have to really trust each other and have each other's back in this, you know, in what we're doing, and it's very important, because the enemy is trying to, you know, do what he can to, because he doesn't like our ministry.
No, he doesn't, because you know, a confident woman is just a threat to his kingdom. You know, because the Bible tells us in Genesis that there was enmity between the serpent and the woman. And so, and as long as the enemy can convince the woman that she's less than, or, you know, that even what she's doing is okay, and deceive her, then she's not a threat to him. But once we step into who we are, and that we are actually daughters of God, and we are participating with him in helping mankind be what they are supposed to be, and empowering and nurturing you know, mankind, and calling forth their time of which they are to step out in what God's designed them to do. I mean, there's such power that God has given woman. And so naturally the enemy doesn't like what it is that you are doing and how you are helping to set women free. But you keep it up, girls. You go, girls. You're doing a great job.
And I want to make sure we say this, that Jan, all the years that when she started this journey, all those years of just learning about how to work on the soul. The soul is big for our ministry, and Jan's put years and years into this, and the Lord has really given her insight and wisdom and direction in it. And she has a curriculum that she's put together.
Time.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Share with us about
Because
your curriculum.
the curriculum is finishing up now.
Okay.
And we've done all the videotapes for all the teachings, and it really has been. I think the Lord's been writing it for 20 years. I just had to put it on paper.
Yes.
But it really is. It's called Boot Camp:
Okay.
Winning the Battle for Your Soul.
Love it.
And it, you know, the way I like to say it is the spirit's saved, but the soul's need some work.
Yes.
And and I think so many times the soul gets neglected.
Yes.
And so that's what the whole curriculum is focused on.
Yes.
And but that's what we're getting ready to have coming out soon in August, and we'll be doing a live boot camp in August. So we're very excited.
Oh, wow. This is amazing, ladies. It really is. And so we'll be sharing that information as well. So thank you so much for being with us today. When did you realize that it was a good time to be you? You knew that was coming up.
You know, I thought about that, actually, and I would have to say it was probably in my early 40s.
All right. Beautiful.
When I started realizing God really has a plan and a purpose for my life. And it's so much bigger than what I could have ever dreamed of.
I love it. How about you, Allison?
I would have to say it was when I was 25, 26, that time frame when he came into my apartment. I knew that something,
Powerful.
you know, had changed for the rest of my life, and I've never gone back.
I love it. I love it. Well, why don't we encourage our audience and our viewers at the count of 3, and let's let them know it's a good time to be you, okay? 1, 2, 3. It's a good time to be you.
Hey everyone, to contact Jan and Allison and to find out more about boot camp, just reach out to them at www.lostandfoundministries.org. And remember, it's a good time to be you.